Here's another interesting disease. Dysentery. So this one is pretty interesting. It was way more common historically. So for example, like on the Oregon Trail and in the World Wars and all that, it was a very common disease. What's interesting though is there's actually two main causes of dysentery, and they're both very different. So the first type is a bacterial dysentery caused by the Shigella bacteria, and that is this. This is more common in the northern parts of the world, so like colder, less tropical. And the other type of dysentery is caused by amoebas, and this is more common in the tropical, warmer areas. So you can get both types of dysentery from similar sources, that being poor sanitization and hygiene, as well as contaminants with a bunch of stuff through the gastrointestinal route. So basically what that means is it spreads by poor sanitization, also known as there being literal shit everywhere. So the amoeba-caused dysentery is less likely to cause like actual symptoms. It's more likely if you get it to be asymptomatic. But if you have symptoms, both of them are relatively similar, so I'm just going to go over symptoms of both. So since dysentery is a gastrointestinal disease, it causes symptoms in the stomach and guts areas. Those specifically being things like nausea and vomiting, as well as cramps, and the most common one is diarrhea, which, inconveniently, is how it gets spread the easiest. So people are having this terrible diarrhea, which could also lead to dehydration, but they're having horrible diarrhea, and this was very common in times and areas where sanitization practices weren't well practiced, so it very easily got everywhere, mainly into water supply, which was shared by other people. So you go like clean off your clothes, clean off yourself in a water supply, and then someone else goes to that water supply and washes their laundry or gets water for cooking or just drinks the water, and that had particles of the feces in it, and they ingested those particles, which also contained the bacteria or amoeba. And then the entire infection cycle starts over again. So kind of the most well-known symptom of dysentery is the bloody stool, which basically means you have blood in your shit. So this can be caused by a couple different things, but the main one is being like ulcers and sores and abscesses throughout the digestive tract, which like get infected and like sore and painful and start to bleed because the skin is very damaged and inflamed and everything. So the blood comes out and it goes through the digestive tract and comes out with the rest of the stool. So there are toxins released this is mainly in the bacterial version, but there are toxins released, and that causes like tissue damage and necrosis, so the tissue's like rotting away and like leaving behind the damaged underlayers with exposed blood vessels, which causes the blood to leak into your intestines and then come out. So fortunately in modern times, and like to be honest in historical times as well, when this was way more common, it wasn't usually fatal unless it was a super severe case in which you died from like dehydration or blood loss. Most of the time you survived after like 3 to 7 just really bad days. And it is kind of the same in modern times, even though it is way less common due to the increased hygiene and sanitization overall. And treatment is achieved a lot easier due to like IV drips and like painkillers and stuff, but again, you usually are in for like 3 to 7 really bad days, and then you'll pretty much be over it unless you're like immune compromised or super young, super old, in which case it's more of a cause for concern, but it is most of the time easily survivable, just not fun.